Imagine struggling writing a fucking movie script for Blade. How can it be hard to write a movie for Blade? Blade is such a simple concept. All people want to do is see Blade kill some vet. Like, I just don't understand. And it's because what they were trying to do with the Blade movie was they were trying to figure out how they can make it for the modern audience, but they didn't have their go-to easy win, which was, oh, let's race swap. They didn't have that. The character was already black, so they're trying to sit there and figure out, gee, what can we do? Oh, I know, let's make it about his daughter. But then it didn't work because they can't create a story around it. So they end up struggling, and before you know it, the movie gets fucking canceled. It's honestly really sad. So, again, the fact that they bring this up as a question on this panel tells me that the industry actually talks about this often enough for them to actually bring it up. Which, again, they'll deny it when we ask. Because, you know, we're just the grifters. We just don't want to see black people in gaming, or we don't want to see black people, whatever. That's how they view it. So they don't want to admit to us that this is something they talk about all the time.
I'm going to tell it again because it keeps coming up.
It is.
When I was in my
Look,
grad
he just
program,
he just said it. He just said it. It keeps coming up. It keeps coming up. The guy on the right just admitted that this scenario keeps coming up. Interesting how they will admit it amongst each other, but they'll never admit it publicly.
I told my professor I want to make a hip-hop game, and my professor looked me dead in the eye. This old 50-year-old old white man was like, there's no market for that. Now I run my own company. I'm making that game. So, like, we going to find out because it's going to happen.
Oh, we going to find out. All right. What's the name of your game? I can't wait to check the Steam numbers. Oh, that's right. The Steam numbers don't matter. I'm sorry. Did this guy just, like, get fucked by so many black guys so much that he just wants to pretend to be black? Is that why he's on this panel? Because he's trying to talk as if he's black. He's like, we going to find out. We're going to find out when I'm in my cookout. Bro, you're Puerto Rican. You run a fucking company called Coquito Games. Why are you trying to act like you're the fucking advocate for BLM over here? What are we doing? Relax. Relax. This man took BBC one night, and now he's making it his entire personality. He's like, Fucking idiot, bro.
Someone says there's no market for that. You get the numbers. Yeah. You do the research.
This man thinks he's Pablo X over here. The fucking Puerto Rican Malcolm X. This is ridiculous.
Do the work to be like, here's the market. And I had to do this when pitching it to a publisher, right? Like, here's a untapped market. Here's how many people are in that market. Here's how many are likely to convert. And here's the numbers we're going to sell.
And then the numbers end up being nowhere near what you thought you were going to sell.
They can't argue that.
Yeah.
Oh, they sure can, because there's a history of video games that had the same ideology as you, and they're all dead and gone.
I was gonna say, like, as you may imagine, I've done a lot of looking into this kind of thing because it's something that gets shouted constantly at everyone.
So here's what I noticed really quick. First off, look at her face, bro. This girl doesn't want to be there. She heard everything this moron had to say, and she's like, So we definitely going to find out. And number two, the amazing thing is that I could tell just based off the way that this man answers on the right side and his overall attitude that he really thinks, and I'm not even kidding, when he walks into a room, he thinks he is the smartest person in that room, bar none. He thinks that he is the most intelligent creature in that room, bar none. That is how he acts. He thinks he knows everything. He comes off as if he knows everything. That is the kind of person that he is. That's why the Asian girl's like, all right, shut the fuck up, Marco. All right, go drink some coquito. Fucking idiot.
And I feel like it's simply the numbers don't bear it out. It's simply not the case the amount of kind of like weasel words being used to kind of suggest like, oh, this game didn't sell and we can find some diverse protagonists in it, versus this game really did sell, but it was despite all those other characters, right? There was no win in that kind of rhetoric. So I think that that ultimately you are probably, as Rory says, like you're dealing with somebody who's not looking at the numbers and is coming from a biased place. They probably weren't going to take your game anyway, right? If they're coming to you with black characters don't sell, their research is deeply biased.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Bro, that's the second time this happened between these two. You want to know why? I just realized why. Because he doesn't even bother asking her if she has an opinion. He just hears them, and he's just like, okay, we're going to continue. And then she jumps in. She's like, wait, I got to say something. He's like, oh, okay, go ahead. Oh, okay. Go ahead. So I just realized that. He be skipping over her, bro. Interesting.
Well, I'm a firm believer that there are just universal themes in all of storytelling and entertainment that it doesn't matter where you're coming from, you can still relate to. Like I grew up playing Uncharted and all of these like beautiful, robust storytelling narratives from perspectives that.
Oh, she did the cardinal sin. She brought up a story that features a white male character lead. You're bad. Don't do that.
I don't even. Like, I couldn't even imagine relating to, but it didn't matter. Like, I could...
exactly.
Like,
it doesn't matter.
It's all about just making sure it's a human connection. So
correct.
I think selling the humanity of it and...
Look how fucking sad Kim is right now because she's ruining Kim's narrative. She's literally right now ruining Kim's narrative, and she doesn't even realize it. Because Asian lady over here literally is saying what the grifters are saying all the time. Kung Pao Chicken over here is ruining it for Kim Belair. She's getting felted. Bro, it doesn't matter. Exactly. It never matters. It don't matter the race of the character. All that matters is the ability for you to be able to connect with the character, and you don't need to see your skin color in order to connect with it. This is what she's saying, and Kim is like, shut the fuck up. You're fucking it all up. You're fucking it up. This is why I told them don't invite your white adjacent ass onto the fucking panel. But we didn't have enough black people because there ain't enough of us, so we needed to add you. And then this, look at his face. Look at his face. Look at his face. Look at his face. He's like, Sheikah. I better get that cookout ready, bruh. It's crazy. I'm going to have to work overtime on Tyrone's dick to make up for this one. I'm going to have to go muff diving on Kim Belair because God knows ain't nobody else touching that right now. That's insane, bro. You are ruining their narrative. What are you doing, bro? Who invited this woman onto the panel? You ruined all of their narratives. Look at him. This guy's like, oh, shit. I'm never going to hear the end of this. Kim Belair is going to invite me out for drinks later. Not only am I not going to smash, but then I'm going to have to listen to her bitch and complain about how the white slant-eyed Asian over here is fucking up the entire narrative for us. You know, how Ryan Rogers says it, blacks. It's unfortunate, man. It really is.
Selling like the story and the hook and being able to like attach yourself
exactly.
to a character regardless.
Sell the story. Yep.
Is really important. So
it's
I mean,
important.
that's my challenge there because it's just like you're telling me humanity doesn't sell. You're telling me like emotions. You're telling me like whatever the character is going through is not going to sell. And you
actually, yes, the person who is saying that stuff doesn't sell is the person sitting right across from you, lady. I don't know if you realize that, but look at this creature over here. On the left, that's the creature that says exactly what you just said. That it's not about the humanity. It's about the fact that you have to see yourself. It's about the fact that the skin color is important and the representation and all that stuff. You just know Kim Belair's about to say something. You could tell how mad she is. Look, she's got that little hand motion she's doing right there. This guy, I don't know what he's doing. He's frozen. He is frozen. This guy is frozen in time. He's like, I cannot believe you are saying what the Chuds say every single day. What are you doing right now? This is not what you're supposed to be doing. You are a plant. You are a plant for the Chuds. You promised you would say the right thing? Bro, this is going to get ugly. Look, he put his hands up. He's like, oh, shit. That's it. I already know Kim Belair's about to say something. You know what Kim Belair's about to hit her with? She's about to hit her with the actually. Actually.
Usually when you get to like the themes like love or World War II or something, or the Roman Empire, then people start talking to like the meat and potatoes of what the story is, and that sells.
It is odd though. Like, look at the things. Look, what are things in Among Us?
Kim,
what are those things? Like,
Kim wants to say something so bad. She wants this. They want to fight so bad. Look, she knows what she did. She's like, that one's for you, chuds. I'm done, bro. I'm so done. This is great. Kim is just holding it in. I love this. Got so much better. This panel got so much better. It started off really slow, but this is really good now. I'm liking this.
are they are they people? Are they robots? Are they
Supposed to be astronauts.
Well, I know I'm saying, but you're supposed to like relate to that, which looks nothing like you've ever seen before. But a black character is a bridge too far.
Well,
you know.
I think that's what's so hard sometimes, because I think I also tend to go for, or I think a lot of folks kind of go for that universality argument, because it is true, right? It is fundamentally true that like the human problems that we face are multifarious, varied, and we are united in a lot of them. But I would say that when I think about like an Uncharted, of course I've played a ton of these games and I relate to all of these characters, but I think the tough part when someone says black characters don't sell is that they're often coming from a place of not believing in that shared humanity as an idea, right? They see the universality in a story like Uncharted 2 or any of those games, but then they go like, well, who's this character though? This character, can I relate to that? Right. And so I think it's I fundamentally agree that, yeah, humanity and universality can sell it, but I always so often encounter the reality that the perception of marginalized humanity is not quite the same as everybody else's.
That is not the same. That you know. Oh my God, bro. Could you even potentially think to yourself for even a moment that perhaps the reason why a lot of non-white characters get rejected these days is because most of them are actually from originally white characters, and that innately makes people highly upset when they view the character? Like, if you were trying to have the character viewed as something serious and as something that could stand on its own, why would you begin its origins under something that is so divisive? Why would you begin its origins over something that clearly is not black in origin? But then you decided to make it black, and then you're like, hey, we did something special, praise us, right? Why do you think all these original black characters from back in the day were so loved? Why do you think Blade is loved so much? You think Blade is loved because he's black? No, there isn't a single fucking person that cares about Blade being black. Blade as a character was able to connect with so many people because it was a good character. Same thing with fucking Barrett from Final Fantasy VII. Same thing with Saz from Final Fantasy 13. Saz was a hilarious character from Final Fantasy 13. So it's like, what are we seriously doing here? What are we like? You guys simply don't have the ability to write the characters anymore. Right? Even Prototype had the I was going to say the prototypical, that would have been too on the nose. Prototype 2 was a prime example of, it wasn't a race swap because it was a new character, but it was a prime example of taking a game that was led by a white man and then putting a black man in it and nobody having a problem with it. Nobody having a fucking problem with it. Nobody had a problem with it. Right? Because the gameplay was the same, the overall sentiment was the same, and the character was actually well written, and it was a good story for the most part. Although, you know, to be fair, Prototype was not really a game you played for the story, you played for the action, but still, it was really good game. So there was no point, like nobody cared, nobody complained. But the reason why people complain now is because these black characters that you are writing are insufferable. They are all insufferable, unbelievably insufferable. You make these black characters, literally their entire identity is them being black, and that is almost all of it. They are insufferable. They're characters that you cannot connect to. And you can't say they can't be connected to because of their skin color, because that's not it. They can't be connected to because they're insufferable fucking people that nobody in real life would ever want to actually have a conversation with. Nobody would ever actually want to follow their story because they're miserable. They run around thinking the white man's going after them all the time. It's a shame. It really is. You guys are just incapable of making a multifaceted character that happens to be black. You want to make a black character first, and then you figure out the rest after. And that's never going to work.
I agree with that. Okay, next one. Your supervisor begins to suggest that there is a new market that needs games look like them.
You didn't
but they
change the
reflect.
slide, Carl.
Oh, it didn't go? Oh, wow, that's weird. It's on my side.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, let's do it again. The supervisor begins to suggest that there is a new market that needs games to look like them, but they reflect individuals with a history of racist or vile behavior.
Hell no.
Bro, this man literally cannot operate a PowerPoint presentation. He can't even operate a presentation. You mean to tell me I'm supposed to think he's amazing at his job? That he wasn't just hired as a checkbox, you know what I'm saying? They clearly don't want to answer this question, but let's see what they say.
Oh my God. Well, I think that, this is like a critical point, right? And I just call for all of us. I think that we know, like, especially just given the climate that we're in now, the climate that we've been in for these last few years, like, I'm really just going to even take it there. We have a responsibility working in games. We need to understand how influential these games are, just how influential media is. Everything from TV shows to movies to comic books. But games are even more influential because they're putting someone in that pilot seat. They're taking control. They're taking actions. They are committing to these things, right? And
I agree with that, GDR.
we need to be very careful about the images and the ideas that we allow to go out into the world. So I would deeply ask anybody in this situation to, hell no. Like, you got to shut it down. You got to find a way to shut it down, because as we allow these things to go out there, that starts to go into people's brains. You got a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 9-year-old, whatever, experiencing these things, and we wonder how a lot of these ideas continue to perpetuate. Is because we allow them into these medias, and we allow them into, and I'm not even going to call no names, on certain games, but we already got some of them out there as well. So we got to be hella mindful with these things. So we have to shut that down.
Jabari, I'm gonna have to take a different approach to this than you. So, for those of y'all unfamiliar with Latin America, colorism is a real problem, right?
Oh God, here we go.
And so when I see this question, the first thought that came to mind were like,
here we go.
the Noiso Negro Dominican kind of folk, right? Who are like a marginalized community in their own right, but also racist. And those are the kind of people who, like us. I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt to this question. So,
You're not. It's not designed that way. It's not designed to give it to that at all.
let me finish that.
Go ahead.
But like, there are groups of people who I recognize as like, y'all just don't know better. And there's groups of people who is like, y'all do know better. And there is a thread here of that can be woven into a narrative, probably from a villain's point of view, but I think when they see themselves and the consequences of their actions, there's a powerful point for change as well in games. The first thing that came to mind when I saw this question was Undertale's genocide route, and how awful that feels, how empty that route feels. There's no music in that route. It's just silence, and it feels odd and creepy and eerie, and you feel bad playing it, and that's the point. So if I were to look at this, get this challenge, I would make this game, but I would make it so that you feel like the scum of the earth for making these choices, and then you understand why it's not the position you want to take.
Look at you going the high route.
So, I mean, he didn't even finish his sentiment on colorism in Latin America. All he did was say that Dominicans are darker skinned, but that they're also racist. Which, again, by the way, the Hispanics are most racist against each other. So, I don't understand where you're really going with that. Like, what? That was like a whole lot of nothing. That was a whole lot of fucking nothing that he said. Like, I don't get it. Like, Dominicans, anyway, you know what? It's not even worth it. Whatever.
This assignment would get me fired. I will tell you. But so for me, like when I heard this, I was thinking about like I think it was in the '60s. There was the rise of the KKK actually, and one of the artists or animators at the time.
Yeah. Who was the political party that was behind it again? Yeah. Yeah.
Got a hold of a very secretive KKK manual, and then made a cartoon out of it where Superman is taking down the KKK.
Right.
And like, so all these like members of the KKK are like hearing their children, with their Superman toys, just beating up, the High Wizard of whatever they call themselves, and it's just kind of like, in hearing it within the kid context.
So I want you guys to understand something. This went from video games to racism to the KKK. Like, these people are talking about literally almost anything other than video games at this point. We are almost halfway through this conversation, and they're talking about almost anything else other than that.
Really kind of made them feel ashamed in certain ways. So I think I would take the assignment.
Yeah, and then make them feel bad.
But it wouldn't probably not be I would not produce what they expected. It would be something different. But I think that's the beauty of our industry and games. It's an art form, and I am like biased, but one of the highest art forms where you can like actually live the life, another life through someone's eyes and make choices as someone. So in that, I would use the art form either to make fun, the high route, or make fun of the people.
Make punching Nazis cool again.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Go for it.
Jesus Christ, these people are retarded, man. Make punching Nazis cool again. Like, again, you guys are talking about the KKK. You realize who the fucking KKK was? Who they pretty much still are? You guys realize that you are the Nazis? I just laugh because these people, they genuinely believe that they're not. They genuinely believe it. They employ the same strategies that the Nazis did. They have almost the same beliefs as the Nazis. It's amazing to me. God damn, bro. These people are just hilarious. Make punching Nazis great again. That is fantastic.
I think, yeah, there's a lot of interpretations of this question. I think looking at it though, to me, this is happening already right now. In the sense that I think I think on that side of the table, the interpretation for me feels like, yeah, we're kind of like, they are asking for like, we like the KKK, like make some characters about it. And I think that is a great direction to go in if there's a sense of self-awareness, or if it's something that, if this supervisor is more asking for a take on it. But I feel like this kind of thing is happening in the way of removal of quote-unquote DEI from games, this idea of wokeness, right? To say, when they say I need games to look like them, they so often just mean like, we want it to look like the world we want, or the world that we desire, and often that, right now, I think it looks like removing people from the story, right? Removing people and undesirables from that world in order to make games look like them. And I think that ultimately that we're already seeing it, and I think it's really, really about pushing back against it and saying like, no, what are we trying to do? Or if there's an opportunity to subvert, I think that's fantastic. But whenever I encounter this, it feels so much more subtle.
You see how she says if there's an opportunity to subvert, that it's fantastic? Why? Why is it fantastic to subvert your audience? Your audience is expecting one thing and you're purposefully giving them another. Like, I don't understand why that's an amazing thing to her.
As a way of going, well, it's just that, you know, it's kind of unrealistic to have these kinds of characters in it, so we're just going to remove it.
Right.
And I think that's where this one lands for me. But I am biased in that regard.
Oh, I'm sure there's some issues there. All right. The supervisor.
He said, I'm sure there's some issues in there. He literally said Kim Belair's got issues. That's great. That is fucking awesome. Yeah, we could tell, Kim. We could tell.
Suggests tapping into a new market by creating games that cater to an audience whose prominent figures. I think it's the same one we had before, so I'm going to sip this one. Your company announces a shift to merit-based promotions, claiming that DEI efforts have become too political.
Yep.
However, there are no clear criteria for advancement, and you notice that promotions disproportionately go to those with close ties to upper management. How would you address this?
So, that actually, the ironic thing about this is that, okay, so if a company announces merit-based promotions and they are inherently going to people who are basically close to upper management disproportionately, what does DEI have to do with somehow preventing people from getting promotions that are close to upper management? So even if you hire people based on their skin color and do DEI hiring, it doesn't matter. The people who have ties to upper management are probably going to get the promotion first anyway. So all you're doing is just hoping that the thing you're about to complain about, you would prefer if it happens to a black person over a non-black person.
And we're leaving the side. We're just going to move on from the side. That's going to be the answer.
Carl, I'm tired.
Yeah,
The side?
if anyone knows how to do this,
Oh my God.
Like I know it. Like this exact scenario exhausts me. I've had this conversation more times than I'd like throughout my career, and every time
This guy's annoying.
I've refined my tactics. But whenever someone's like DEI initiatives are failing, I'm like, oh, y'all were promoting based on like that? Because I would have what you think DEI is, because I didn't get promoted. So like, who are you promoting? And now it's merit based. Like DEI wasn't supposed to do that and make it so that people of color and women and other minorities get opportunities that were historically excluded from them. When they forget that point,
It wasn't excluded from them. They just couldn't compete. Or they just weren't interested. It's just simple facts, bro. You can try to be upset all you want about it. But I'll tell you this. I'll challenge you, Jabrari, because it seems like you like to, explore black neighborhoods a lot. So here's what I will ask you to do. And you can prove me wrong if you want. I want you to go to the Bronx, preferably during the daytime so that you're at maximum safety. I want you to go to the Bronx. And I want you to interview 100 black people. Young black kids. Male or female, doesn't matter. I want you to interview 100 black kids and ask them what their dream job is. And then I want you to go to a notoriously white neighborhood. And I want you to do the same thing with those white kids and ask them what their dream job is. How many out of those 100 black kids do you think are going to say that their dream job is to code or make video games or whatever the case may be? How many do you think are going to say that's their dream job? And then you're going to go to the white neighborhood and ask them what their dream jobs are. Again, you're saying that they were excluded from those opportunities, when the simple fact is different cultures produce different results. Do you see white people complaining that they were excluded from the NBA disproportionately? I'm just saying. It's a simple fact of life, and you guys are trying desperately to use that fact of life to push your nonsense, because the simple truth is that you cannot compete at an even playing field. You can't compete at an even playing field. You know who can compete on an even playing field? The women, the black people, and the gay people who got jobs in the gaming industry before DEI. They were able to get jobs under the same qualifications as the white man. Asian people too. They were all able to do it before DEI. Then all of a sudden DEI came in, and now it's like, oh, you have to have us. You have to have us. If you don't have us, well, that's just racist. You're trying to create this level where you bring your skill up to their skill while actually not getting better at your job. You can't compete. That's just the simple truth of it. You can't compete without there being a caveat to bolster your success over another.
It's gotten to a point where I don't even bring that up anymore because they just don't believe that that's what it is. I just start having to demand what the merits are. Like, I need to see what merits you're looking for.
Yeah, there's a word, equity's in the name, right? Equity should mean merit, right? Like, did they ignore that? Yeah.
You know, media literacy is dead, Carl.
I'm sorry. I apologize for my ignorance.
Media literacy is dead. Yeah, because these people, you know what media literacy is to these people? Media literacy to these people is looking at a game like Final Fantasy VII. It has a multitude of different aspects of the story. And they're like, oh my God, this game is totally about saving the environment. Yeah, just look at, how could you not see that? The entire premise is about saving the environment. I mean, just look. You have an eco-terrorist group that is fighting against an evil capitalistic organization. Of course it's about saving the environment and anti-capitalism. That's the entire point of the story. No, bitch. The entire fucking story is ultimately about Sephiroth. That's like these people will look at the smallest details and they will say that's the entire story. That's what it is. It's like, I'm sorry, did you get past disc 1? Did you get past disc 1? When you left Midgar and you went on your adventure to take down Sephiroth and come to find out his origins and Cloud's origins and all that other, like the real story, the real meat of the story, not the fact of Shinra. Which, by the way, here's the hilarious thing, right? So these people that use media literacy, they'll talk about Final Fantasy VII, and they'll be like, oh, yeah, Barrett, he's an eco-terrorist. He cared about the environment. Mind you, Barrett in Advent Children became an oil man. And you mean to tell me he cared about the come on, bro. You think Cloud cared about the fucking environment? I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying. It's ridiculous, man. Anyway.
Jabari, I can hear you. I can see it. I can see it. The taste is there. Mm-hmm.
Everyone is time.
Javier says no spoilers. No spoilers on what? A movie that's like many years old? If you haven't watched a movie by now, you were never going to watch it. I'm sorry. I apologize. It just is what it is. Much love to you, though. Here we go.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tricky one, you know. I think that sometimes we have to understand.
Better play that backlog then.
That things very much, people are the way that they are. Sometimes we don't want to, sometimes it can be dangerous to assume folks are going to act outside of the way they've always been acting. And I've kind of been saying this a lot all the way back to, you know, the awards and, you know, and everything like that. Like, if folks have done a certain thing time after time after time, right? Like what's happening right now in games is very much like an abusive relationship. And we keep expecting folks to do different when they've done the same thing over and over, right? And so I think we really need to like pay attention.
So can I just make a statement? Can I make a statement? So this is supposed to be an inspirational panel. This is supposed to be a panel about black, like being black in the gaming industry. And this entire panel has been nothing but absolutely fucking miserable the entire time. The entire time. Like, what the hell, bro? How are we this miserable? I don't get it.
And learn the lessons.
Yeah.
Know that.
And I would add that, you know, when DEI efforts were in
Good job,
intact
Sonia,
in
banning
some
that
way, it
guy,
wasn't
that
like it was
fucking
like,
idiot.
oh, there's
Look at
no
that guy.
racism, right? It's I think that's it. It's whether or not it's removed, proportions have largely gone disproportionately to friends of upper management, right? That is simply a fact. And I think that
Guess what? That's how it goes in every single field of work. Every single field of work literally has that problem. You're not going to change it in yours, and it's not going to change anywhere else. It has been that way since the dawn of corporate life. And you're going to be what? That person who just sits there and constantly complains about, oh, I didn't get this position because they're friends. Like, really? You think that's happening every single time? You think every single promotion was passed up on you because of the fact that someone was friends with upper management? Maybe you're just not as good as you think. I know that's hard to accept, but perhaps your skill level is not as high as you think it is. See, the problem is in the corporate world, everybody has to sniff each other's farts. So they'll lie to you and tell you you're amazing. But when they're behind closed doors and they're trying to figure out who to promote and your name's not coming up at all, then you're probably not as good as you thought you were.
the push against DEI might give you more words of and how to express that. But I think that reality is inescapable. And I think that so many of these kinds of questions end up kind of going like, if you are in a system that is unchanging, kind of grinding people around you, so often you either have to kind of find a way to move your own path through it or exit that system, versus being able to find any way to push back against someone who's like, yeah, I'm going to hire my friends because I don't believe in DEI. Like that's not a mind I can change, I think. And I think we will all get even more tired trying.
That's fair.
Yeah, I want to add one little bit because I think, we got so many people coming into the industry, been in the industry. I think just something about career in general that I think a lot of people know, but I just want to make sure is out there, is a lot of getting jobs, getting promotions, all these things. It's really very much so who you know and the relationships that you have with people. It's always been like that. Yeah, there's some racial dynamics to it, but it's way deeper than that. It's really about relationships.
That's true.
And so it's like, if you want to be in the game, you need to know how to play the game. That's never going to change.
Finally,
And just
somebody
kinda, like, reminding
somebody said something intelligent. Finally. So you admit that that's the case. You it only took you so long. Holy crap. It's about time.
This is something that we forget. I forget this all the time. We're in the game industry, but it is a business, right? And you just like the saying, show me the money. You got to show them the money. You got to show how much money you're bringing into the business, how much you're worth, and that you're bringing more than
Move the end? No, I want to keep the end
whoever.
up there.
Because when people, like, regardless if they're your friends or not, if you start
It
messing with
matches the
people's money,
conversation
that's
that
when
we're
you
having
start,
right now.
like, disavowing friendships, if you start like showing like, hey, I'm unhappy right now and I make a quarter of your business and you're trying to promote your friend and I'm going to leave with a quarter of your business, then people start becoming disloyal to their friends. And and I've been in situations where that still happened, where like I proved the numbers, I showed the receipts, and they still hired their friends. I left, and that business crumbled. And they came back like, oh,
I highly doubt that. I hate when people say that. I hate when people say because I left, the entire business crumbled, bro. You're not that important. You are not that important. That does not happen 99% of the time. Of course, there's that 1% chance where you were so influential. You were so influential that perhaps, things went south after you left. But to think that it was all because of you, it's like, bro, that is narcissistic as hell. Let's skip the nonsense, skip the bullshit. But again, I'm not surprised considering that this is an industry filled with narcissists all throughout.
We had to hire 6 people to replace you. I'm like, that's not my problem anymore.
We had to hire
right?
we had to hire 6 people to replace her. That's how good she thinks she. Man, you making this shit up. You making it up right now. Can we stop?
Are you telling me?
There's also accidental kind of situations. I mean, like they're not being racist or sexist. They just do something that creates a situation. Like I remember it's about 10 years ago now.
Yeah, the other guy was falling asleep.
How he got promoted. He said, "Well, the guy who was in charge of me loved to play video games late at night. So we would go over to his hotel room and play video games late at night. And during a conversation, he was like, 'Yeah, you want this job? Blah 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 blah.' And he was like, 'Yeah.' So I just networked. I was like, 'Yeah, but that disqualifies a lot of people. No female employee is going to a guy's 11 o'clock like hotel room and hanging out every night because they want a job. Like that makes no sense. Like nobody who has kids can do that. Like there's all these employees that can't access like the 11 o'clock happy hour time to get the promotion. Like that makes like I understand how it happened, but that's not
why. What does going to someone's hotel room have to do with networking? Who does that? Who does that? What? There is a multitude of different ways to network without having to go to someone's hotel room. Kim would do it? Yeah. Well, yeah, only if you're Bowser, but still. Bro, these people, you know what it is? I'm going to tell you exactly what it is, man. Seriously. These people are so used to making up excuses for everything. For literally everything. Everything wrong in their life is at the fault of something racist, usually. It is sad, man, but it's exactly what it is.
Not fair to everybody. Like that's a very specific kind of person who can do that in their 20s when they have nothing else going on, and a certain kind of even gender or safety issue. Like there's a lot of things with that. And that's me understood. Like, oh, I never even conceived that that people could not come to that. You know what I mean? Like,
I have a complex relationship with that particular scenario because I believe the first 3 jobs I got in this industry were gotten through connections, mostly through my university, of people who I knew who could get me in the door, right? I still believe, and I firmly believe, that they only opened the door and I got the job on my own merit, but it is part, as Jabari was saying, it is part of the game industry game right now, and it's not going away.
Right.
For me, what I learned very quickly early on was when you encounter
His back
this
door got
scenario,
opened. Oh yeah.
if you're not in the in club, you're not getting in.
Right.
So the best place you can go is out, and I found that I could get promotions much more quickly by going to a different company if they weren't willing to promote me internally. Right. Because I learned AAA companies have bigger budget for hiring than they do for promoting, which is, by the way, the dumbest thing. What do you mean you want to pay an external person more than the person you're already paying to do the job they're already... I'm stop.
Wait, I have to defend.
I've triggered a point. I've triggered. The trauma Jabari's experiencing is not the representative of the whole panel. So you know.
Look, I have to defend a AAA because I'm the AAA representative here, right? So,
Yo, so the only one with a brain on this panel is the Asian. Why am I not surprised? The only one with look, this guy's tapped out. The guy on the left is tapped out. That's how I feel right now. The only one with a brain is the Asian. So far, she's the only one. She has literally debunked everything these 3 have said this entire time. She's debunked it. She's like, no, we don't need any kind of race or anything involved in character creation. People just want to connect with the connect with the character if it's well written. Yeah, like AAA, that's not necessarily their fault. It happens all the time, happens everywhere. This guy's like, let me out of here. I just want to go home. That's it.
Promotion in AAA, you have to demonstrate business need, right? You got to speak corporation. Like if you're already doing it, that's not a business need. Like they already have somebody doing it. You have to like actually pitch and sell that there's like a gap in the company that we need to create a position for. And guess who's most qualified to do that? Pam. Pam is the most qualified.
Pam's class after this session will be available on Zoom for $1,000 per year to get your promotion. Okay, next question.
Bro, she's never
Your
getting
company
invited to
added
the
a black
cookout ever again. Ever again.
Character in a game, and the portrayal is one-dimensional.
Carl,
And
it didn't shift over again. Yeah.
what's going on? All right. It's just making me upset now. Your company added a black lead character in a game, but their portrayal is one-dimensional and riddled with cliches. When you suggest improvements...
Oh, so like every black character that gets made these days? That's the sad... Like every black character is riddled with cliches and stereotypes? But okay.
You're told just to be grateful. There's representation at all. How do you push it for being better without being dismissed?
I'm gonna chime in here, although I know like Gerard's got some gems here, but I think that this is a very straightforward one because there's just already so many proofs of concept. So, like stale, boring writing and boring characters will hurt your game regardless. Like this is not even like a race thing or a DEI thing or anything like that. This is just like poor quality narrative, and there's a lot of examples you can pull where it's been done shitty and games haven't sold well, and when it's been done well and they've sold well. So I would just lead with the facts and keep it there.
Yep.
Gotcha.
That's
Yep,
it. Yeah,
right
no,
on.
100%.
All right. Girardi?
Be grateful. They said they better be grateful I show up to work after that.
Carl be trying to trigger us with these.
Bro, he is
These are real...
he is an insufferable employee. Seriously, like why would no wonder you didn't get promoted. You're fucking insufferable, bro. Who's gonna want you to lead a team or anything when you're acting like this? You're insufferable. Seriously. What the
Scenarios. It's not I'm trying to trick you.
I know.
The thing
If
is,
I heard that at a workplace, like someone actually said that to me, I would consider that an unsafe workplace at that point and start looking for a new job.
Unsafe
and tell them
workplace.
Good luck with their flat characters.
Yeah, just to add, I did get this very directly, and
You always could.
for better or for worse, I created Sweet Baby Inc. about it. Because I will not say who I was working for before I founded that. It's findable, but I was brought into a room, shown a cast of
Ubisoft. She was working for Ubisoft. Ubisoft.
15 characters, of which there were 3 black ones, and I was asked why I had a black agenda and why I was trying to create these things. One of the black characters, by the way, was a white guy. He was just the adoptive parent of a white character that existed, and he was, I think he was said to have been Jamaican or something, and he was white. Oh, sure. And so I had to sit in there and defend it, and it was the time that I said, oh, I can't do this anymore. And I ended up saying I want to build a company where I can create narratives and tell stories and understand that representation is a form of innovation of character, right? That's exactly it. Like, to represent a character is not to show a picture of them and to be like, here's a token character that vaguely looks like the idea of you, right? It is to create someone who resonates with you on, yes, the level of identity, but also the level of just, humanity and of personhood. And so I think that the biggest problem with this is this idea that that's what representation is, right? Representation is, and I think I'm always saying it is we need to start touting representation as a form of innovation of story, innovation of narrative, and just a betterment of narrative design versus something that's like, it looks kind of like you though.
Yeah.
You know?
Got you.
Yeah, I would.
Bro, all of this is literally just saying nothing.
Kim said, but I would also add examples.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you guys. There's like a whole nother half to this. A little under a half to this. I can't make through it. I can't make through it, bro. I'm falling asleep over here. These people, not only are they boring, but they're also unbelievably full of shit. They are full of shit. I can't deal with the lies. They're narcissistic as hell, and they're sitting up here like just flat out lying to people. And again, I thought I was going to see a panel of black creators, and I got 2 non-black people up here. This is very similar to the Gaming While Black documentary that's being worked on. They decided to interview a non-black journalist. A very non-black journalist. Make that make sense. Yeah, I'm good.